You ever have one of those moments where you see someone for what you think they are, only to realize you were completely wrong? Well, I'm about to tell you a story that changed how I look at people forever. It's about a man who walked into my life looking like a dusty cowboy drifting through some forgotten town, and how that man turned out to be none other than Hollywood star Jason Statham. It all happened on a blazing hot Saturday afternoon, the kind where the sun feels like it's pressing down on your shoulders and the dust in the air makes everything look like an old Western movie. I was at this tiny, run-down cafe just outside of town, the kind of place where the coffee's strong, and the locals gather to gossip and pass the time. I was there with a friend, just shooting the breeze and enjoying the slow pace of a weekend. The chatter was light, and the sound of a ceiling fan humming lazily overhead filled the room. Suddenly, the door creaked open, and in walked this man. I don't say this to be mean, but the first thing that struck me was how incredibly dusty and worn out he looked. His jeans were faded and patched in a few places, his boots looked like they'd seen 100 miles on rocky trails, and the wide-brimmed hat he wore was pulled low over his eyes. His shirt was rumpled, stained from what looked like sweat and dirt, like he'd been working hard all day or just come straight from the desert. He moved slowly, with the kind of quiet confidence that felt out of place in this little cafe. He didn't rush to order or shout over anyone. Instead, he quietly took a seat at a corner table and waited. Around me, I heard murmurs. People were clearly curious, but they weren't sure what to make of him. I could hear some of the regulars whispering under their breath, calling him a drifter or a stranger and wondering what he was doing there. I admit I was skeptical, too. My mind raced with assumptions. Maybe he was just passing through, or worse, someone looking for charity. Honestly, I even rolled my eyes a little. It was easy to judge. After all, appearances matter in small towns like this, and anyone who looks out of place gets sized up fast. He ordered a black coffee, nothing fancy. The waitress brought him some food, a simple plate of eggs and toast, and he ate slowly, thoughtfully. The way he handled himself, though calm, composed, never once demanding or complaining, felt unusual. There was something about him that didn't quite fit the image of a ragged cowboy. I started noticing the details. His hands were calloused but steady, with a grace that spoke of discipline, not desperation. His eyes, well, even from behind that hat, were sharp and alert. They weren't glazed over or tired like you'd expect from someone who'd been wandering for weeks. Instead, they seemed to be taking everything in, quietly watching and judging, almost like he was testing the people around him. I found myself glancing over at him more and more. People usually keep their heads down when they feel out of place, but he was different. There was no shame or neediness in him. Just a quiet strength. As he finished his meal, something about the way he stood up caught my attention. He moved with purpose, slow but deliberate, and the entire cafe seemed to go quiet. Then, in the most unexpected moment, he reached up and pulled off his hat. The dust that had clung to him all afternoon seemed to fall away as if the hat was a mask hiding his true self. And there, beneath the wide brim, was a face I recognized instantly, Jason Statham. I froze. My mouth went dry. The rugged, dusty cowboy wasn't some random drifter at all. It was Jason Statham, the Hollywood star famous for his roles in action movies, known for his steely gaze and tough guy persona. For a second, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. How could someone so famous, so polished on screen, look like they'd been riding through the desert all day? The man standing before me was completely unrecognizable from the glossy images plastered across movie posters and magazines. The cafe fell into stunned silence. People stopped mid-conversation, staring wide-eyed. Phones started coming out, but nobody rushed to mob him or ask for selfies. Instead, it was as if we were all sharing a secret moment, witnessing something rare and real. Jason gave a small, knowing smile, like he was letting us in on a joke only he fully understood. He wasn't here to impress or show off. He wasn't acting or playing a role. He was just a man, blending into the crowd, testing what it was like to be anonymous. I overheard someone whisper, "Is that really him?" and a few nods followed. It was almost like he wanted to see how people would treat him without the fame and glamour attached. And honestly, the way some people treated him was heartbreaking. A few still looked at him like a nuisance or an outsider, not realizing who they were ignoring. But others, those who saw beyond the surface, gave him polite nods or even small smiles. Jason didn't stay long. He quietly gathered his things, put his hat back on, and walked out of the cafe, disappearing down the dusty street just as quickly as he had come. That day left me with a lot to think about. Here was a man who could have had anything: luxury cars, private jets, the adoration of millions, yet he chose to step out of the spotlight and experience life as an ordinary person. No fanfare, no cameras, no special treatment. He reminded me that appearances are deceiving, that sometimes the people who look the most lost or out of place are carrying stories we can't even imagine. And maybe the biggest lesson of all was this: kindness and respect should never be reserved for those who look successful or powerful. They should be given to everyone, no matter how dusty or worn out they seem. So next time you see someone who looks like a nobody, someone who doesn't fit your idea of important, remember the dusty cowboy who was really Jason Statham. Because you never know who might be standing right in front of you, just waiting for a little bit of kindness.